Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, guys, to today's episode of the Mystical and Esoteric Bible Teacher Platform. How are you guys doing today? Welcome. Thanks so much for joining me. Thank you so much for joining me. Today, we're going to look at something, as usual, something very, very important and fascinating. The esoteric meaning. Esoteric meaning of the crucifixion. And this part of the Bible is so amazing. It's amazing in few ways, and that is, you're always telling me the Christ within me, and at the same time telling me Christ outside of me. It kind of confuses me. Where is Christ? Is it within me or outside of me? Because at some point I'm seeing him as someone, and then at another point I'm seeing him as a principle. That was then, in those days. But of course, in those days where the church said it. So, but it later spans out to me that everything in the scriptures is all metaphorical. It's all allegorical. Stories, parables, just to convey, and then hidden messages, hidden codes. Hidden codes wrapped around stories. It takes someone that is highly intelligent and also well read, because don't forget that the Bible, let's digress a little bit, don't forget that the Bible was translated, right? It was translated to English. So that means it wasn't written in this initial language, right? Even in Hebrew, Greek, other languages that were outside English. So the writers in these languages had in mind what they wanted to share, but at the same time they were going to share it secretly. They weren't just going to share it because, of course, they know at some point it's going to find its way into the public at some point. So they needed to, because in the first place the Bible wasn't written for you, it wasn't written for the public, it was written for few intellectuals and their cronies and their family. It wasn't written for you because but because they realized that it's a writing, it might actually find its way into the public at some point, so decided to put it all around stories, allegory, metaphors, and then hide those truths within them. And then we as individuals started to read them like English. Started to read them like English. Obviously, we read it so much, and then it started to make meaning as if Christ is somebody. And then we lost the message within the stories. So the esoteric meaning of the crucifixion, we're going to look at that right now, just in a moment. All right, we're going to look at that in a moment. So, by the way, welcome. All right. In my write-up here, in a world obsessed with power and pain, by the way, the crucifixion represents the esoteric meaning of the crucifixion represents the death. All right, the death of the lower self, and the lower self is usually regarded as the animalistic, bestial nature of man. the lust, greed, all those animal instincts that we all have as individuals. So as long as you're human, you have them, but you need to tame them. You need to sacrifice them. You need to, at some point in our lives, it's very, very important if you want to ascend to that state of consciousness where you can get things direct from the source. We all, at some point in our lives, we're always there, so nobody is exempted. And that's one of the things that the church usually put in our face, that you are sinful, you are this, you are that, and then they put shame, guilt, and all that in front of you, and then you lose focus of who you really are in the first place. Okay, you lose focus of who you really are in the first place. So we are all have our lower selves as human beings, and that's not a bad thing. No, it's not. It's not a bad thing. But you don't remain there. You don't remain there. If you want to get things from the source, if you want to get things from the Most High, you have to ascend. You have to let this lower self die for your higher self to rise. Okay, so that's what the crucifixion represents, the death of the lower self. So in a world obsessed with power and pain, the cross stands not as a symbol of defeat, but as the doorway to awakening. That's what the cross stands for, as the doorway to awakening. Alright, so one more time, welcome ladies and gentlemen to the Mystical Esoteric Teacher platform, where every story in scripture unveils the hidden paths to inner resurrection. So the crucifixion of Jesus is not only an event in time, it is the eternal pattern of transformation that every soul must walk through. So is not only an event in time, like we're always told, is the eternal pardon of transformation that every soul must walk through. So in esoteric language, Jesus represents the Christ consciousness. Jesus represents the Christ consciousness. That's what Jesus reps. Christ consciousness. Just come along, ladies and gentlemen. That's what Jesus represents here. Don't forget, we're reading the Bible esoterically, so that you can have a sense of belonging, so that anytime you are reading the Bible, you're not reading fear, you're not reading shame, you're not reading guilt. Those days we tend to read the Bible that way, not knowing that all of those things are boo. It's for your mind. It's for your mind. It's for your awakening. It represents your mind, and how it is that you can transform your mind, and how it is that you can from time to time step up, get out of your animalistic nature and get into the Christ consciousness, like you're going up, going down, like that. And that's basically what holiness means, to be complete without excess in any. Complete without excess in any. So that's what Jesus represents. It represents the Christ consciousness, the divine essence within you. All right. Then we look at the cross. The cross reps the point where the human and divine meet. The point where the human and divine meet. Yes, that's what the cross represents. The point where the human and divine meets, the intersection of time, the horizontal being and the eternal. Okay, the horizontal being. I hope this is going straight. The horizontal being. Sorry, and then horizontal being, and vertical. All right. So the intersection of time, the horizontal being, and eternity, the vertical being. All right. Horizontal of time, vertical being. Okay. So when Jesus carries the cross, listen very carefully. When Jesus carries the cross, it symbolizes the soul bearing the weight of the human condition. The soul bearing the weight of the human condition. The burdens of ego, fear, and illusion. And when he is nailed to the cross, it signifies the fixation of awareness. When it's nailed to the cross, it signifies nailed to the cross. So let me go back. When Jesus carries the cross, it symbolizes the soul bearing the weight of the human condition. So the soul recognizes that he is human, at the same time God. Okay, so the burdens of ego, fear, illusion, and when he is nailed to the cross, it signifies, nailing to the cross signifies the fixation of awareness. Fixation of awareness, or your beingness, your consciousness being pinned to matter, to the physical world, unable yet to rise. Okay, it signifies the fixation of awareness, your consciousness being pinned to matter, to the physical world, unable yet to rise. But in truth, the nailing is not punishment, it's purification. All right, the nailing is not punishment, it's actually purification. It's the moment when the false self, the I that believes it is separate from God, is exposed and transcended. It is the moment when the false self, the I that believes it is separate from God, is exposed and transcended. So as Jesus says, Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit, it symbolizes the surrender of the ego to the higher self. All right, the ego to the higher self. Don't forget that we talked about Jesus representing. We talked about Jesus representing the Christ consciousness. Now, at this point, he is dying, and he is letting go of all the things that would hinder him from connecting to the source or to the Father. All right, so as Jesus says, Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit, it symbolizes surrender of the ego to the higher self. The surrender is what allows resurrection, the rebirth into divine awareness. Okay, all right, now that's one. Now the two thieves, very important that you also know what they represent. Crucified beside him are also symbolic. The one who mocks represents the mind. The one who mocks, the mocking one, all right, represents the mind, trapped in disbelief and materialism. Okay, that's the one of them, the one who mocks him. Now the one who believes represents the awakened, the one who believes, represents the awakened soul that recognizes divinity even in darkness. So the mocking one that is fixated in things outside, materialism, disbelief, this doesn't work. How can the source be from within when all these things around me is happening. No, I need to walk from the outside. I need to effort. I need to, and castigating that the source or everything that we do starts from within. And the one who believes represents the awakened soul that recognizes divinity even in darkness. Between them stands Christ, the consciousness, the perfect balance. You see that? That's why I said that don't get overworked by that lower self of yours, because that lower self of yours is also important. It's just that you don't stay there. For you to get right into the throne of grace, or the source, or the highest state of consciousness, you have to move. But being at that lower state isn't bad in itself also. That's the balance with that Christ is perfected in us, the consciousness, the holiness. Between them stands the Christ, the perfect balance. And I guess that's where we all make mistakes as individuals, where we tend to feel this shame and guilt when you enter into this Pentecostal or some of these religious bodies. They push that narrative in front of you so much that you tend to forget your power. You tend to relinquish your power to them, So between them stands Christ, the perfect balance, the consciousness that transcends duality. Yes, the consciousness that transcends duality. The darkness that falls over the land is the shadow of the inner transformation. The darkness represents the shadow of the inner transformation. All right, the darkness that falls, darkness falling represents the falling over the land is the shadow of the inner transformation. Okay, the moment when the old identity dies, but the tearing of, what it's saying in essence is that the darkness that falls over the land is the shadow of the inner transformation. The moment when the old identity dies, so there's about to be a transformation, there's about to be a movement. So there's usually the darkness that falls over, more like it feels at the darkest hour of your life, trying to move into another realm. That's what the darkness represents there. That falls over the land is the shadow of the inner transformation, the moment when the old identity dies. But the tearing of the temple veil at that same moment, listen very carefully, for those Bible scholars, the tearing of the temple veil at that same moment is the unveiling of divine consciousness. Unveiling of divine, the barrier between the human and divine is no more. Where there is an awakening consciousness. That's what it's saying. In those days where I don't want to really delve into, so it will take a lot of time. Or let me quickly, in those days you have the temple, right? And in the temple you have the priests. And then right in the temple you have the holies of holies. Nobody goes there except the priest. And then the priest going there to make sacrifices for you. All right, physical sacrifices, they do ordinances and all that. So there's a representation. Now that we are conscious, we are aware of our power within, this is taking off. This is taking off. So you have a direct link to the source now. And this source is not in a temple. It's not found in a church. It's not found in creed. It's not found in dogma. It's not found in your doctrine. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. No. It's not found there. So there is a tearing of that veil, that we are now conscious that we have a direct source to divine. and that divine is within us, not outside us. So stop clamoring and shouting and making hell noise, seeking for God that is within you. We are now aware that we carry source. That's what it's saying. So but the tear of the temple veil at the same moment is the veil of divine consciousness. The barrier between the human and divine is no more. So those barriers that we used to have as a result of we having rules, regulations, that once you go against all those rules and regulations, you have sinned. So you have to go for some sacrifices. You have to do a whole lot of things to come back. Of course, you weren't conscious at that moment. You weren't conscious of the fact that you and the source are one. So, and that's why you now have your priest doing that. And we still have that happening in a whole lot of religious bodies, and people are still not awakened to that fact that veil, and they think is a physical thing. They don't understand what those things represent. They have no idea. But on this platform, that's what we do. We break them down. So it's the unveiling of divine consciousness. Like I said, the barrier between the human and the divine is no more. Now, the crucifixion is not the end. It is the crossing over. Now, every time you forgive, surrender pride, or release attachment, you're crucified with Christ. That's what it means. So, like I said initially, that we all are animalistic in nature, but anytime that you carry out some of this what it causes, every time you forgive, you surrender pride or release attachment. I've done that several times in my life. I won't lie to you. And sometimes people look at me and say, you don't seem worried, you don't seem stressed, you don't seem like this is something you have to I'm not forget. The things we don't go through in my life before finding out that I am my Father. One, I don't need all those things, Crucified with Christ. And every time you rise above the limitations of fear, you experience resurrection. That's it. The cross is not a symbol of death, ladies and gentlemen. It's a map of the soul's journey, the vertical, horizontal, time, and the source unending. Alright, it's a map of the soul's journey from the illusion of separation. I love that. The cross symbolizes is not the symbol of death, ladies and gentlemen. No, it's not a symbol. It's a map of the soul's journey from the illusion of separation. So the realization of divine oneness. I love this. The realization of divine oneness. That's what it means. That's what the cross means. It's not death. That's nothing to do with death. So when life places you upon your own cross, metaphorically, when life places you upon your own cross, when you feel stretched between heaven and earth, remember you're not dying, you are being transformed. That's what crucifixion is all about. That's what it represents. So there is not like there's one dude dying for you 2,000 years ago. No. So, ladies and gentlemen, so if this does resonate with you, please share, like, subscribe to the Mystical and Esoteric Bible Teacher platform. where the hidden wisdom of scriptures comes alive, revealing not a religion of suffering, but a path to awakening. That's what we do here on this channel, path to awakening. Alright, having said that, ladies and gentlemen, watch the next one. Watch the next one. I'm going to share briefly the esoteric meaning of the Golgotha. The Golgotha, like an African man. The esoteric meaning of the Golgotha. Alright guys, I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Peace out.